The one-of-a-kind taste of Dr. Pepper and college football go way back, as long as people have been tailgating. They've been doing it with Dr. Pepper. Watching college football without a delicious Dr. Pepper is like watching the game at home without throwing a party, or even worse, throwing a party on game day without a Dr. Pepper. If college football's the quarterback, Dr. Pepper's its favorite wide receiver. That's right, the same Dr. Pepper you can pick up at Dollar General, take home, and watch your football team with. Dr. Pepper and college football, it's a one-of-a-kind tradition.
It's a football Sunday doubleheader. First in Green Bay, the Packers face the Lions.
Got it! Touchdown!
Then at MetLife Stadium, the Giants host the undefeated Patriots. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It was BYOG, bring your own guts.
This is the best
Do you hear me?
of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Jim is next up in Tuscaloosa.
You know I can't answer the bell every now and then, and did I hear you say you KO'd me?
Well, Jim, that was a trick to get you to call back.
Yeah, I knew it. Well, I know your tricks, believe me, but you didn't trick me. I just wanted to respond because I got some other things to say. But you and your gang of 8 couldn't KO me on all y'all's best day.
Jim, this is where I'm supposed to say no mas, no mas.
That's exactly what. If you're smart, that's what you say. That's what you should have said yesterday. That's what you should have said yesterday when Nay from Sugarland, Louisiana, or wherever, Sugar something, she don't sugarcoat nothing, and she KO'd you, Paul. Come on, man. She's the best I've heard since I was on the show.
Yeah,
I mean, that lady was 74 years young, and she wiped you and wiped the floor with you.
She did. I'm an honest man. You know that, Jim.
Well, I hope you are. I thought you used to be, and, well, I'm glad you admitted that because she laid that weasel tag on you that I already laid on you 10 years ago. So,
well, Jim, you know, without you on the show, I just kind of cruise down Easy Street.
All you do is sit there and punch buttons without me on the show.
I don't even train for the fights. I just show up and get a check.
Well, hey, you know, you're talking to Junior, Donald Trump Jr., and I want to ask you, Paul. I've kind of lost confidence in my man Donald. You know, he's kind of his swagger's kind of getting weak when he is crushing or trying to crush Ben Carson, and just because he took over the lead on the polls a few days. And here we go tonight. You know, it's a perfect day for me to call. I didn't even think about it, but tonight's the night, you know. What's going to happen tonight, Paul? You're a pretty good analyst. I'm talking about political, not football.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I think this will be a very low. I think the media is on stage tonight, so it will be more substantive, which means it probably won't be very interesting. And I expect Trump to be in his element, talking about financial matters. I think the person that needs to be careful tonight is Jeb Bush. He could get knocked out of the race.
Paul, now you talking about KO. That guy, tell me the truth. You tell me he's not a dead man walking as far as politics and presidential hopes? I mean, the guy is dead.
He's gained fewer yards than Leonard Fournette lately.
In the first, in the whole game, yeah. He hadn't even gained 31 yards.
No, he's on the brink tonight.
No, he's not on the brink, Paul. He's a dead man walking.
Well,
he's old
I would agree with you on that. Although, let me say this about Ben Carson's in trouble. Trump
I think Trump's in trouble.
He could be. He could be.
I'll tell you why. You know, Paul, you've been around. This is not our or your first rodeo in politics. You know, these older women like Nay and these other smooth people from the South, all over the country, actually, they don't care for somebody that goes around just bad-mouthing somebody just for no reason, rather than they just took over the lead in the polls, and this guy comes out the other night. He was vicious on O'Reilly. I'm on the O'Reilly show talking about Carson. I got turned off. Have you gotten turned off at the guy?
I've actually become fairly uninterested in the race right now because nothing. And by the way, Jim, it's still a little early, but
I know.
It's I think right now, from a political standpoint, you're just trying to hold on to get to
February. Yeah. By the time February gets here, you and I could be in the lead.
We could, and probably should.
I think so. Yeah. No, really, I'm a little bit. These Twitter people, they drop me like a hot potato. They unfollow me because I tell the truth. You know, I have a habit of telling the truth. And the other day I just said, hey, Trump kind of ticked me off. And, I mean, I lost about 80 followers.
If not Trump, then where would you go?
That's the problem, Paul. There's nowhere to go. And, I mean, actually, the guy is the best. He says more things that are right. He knows more. He knows more about what's wrong with the country, and he would be excellent in many aspects, economically, the economy, the foreign policy. But when it comes to smooth domestic policy and public relations, I think he's got a problem, and that's where he's going to get hurt, by losing the lead. And I don't think he'll get. He's got no. And I know, at the best, he's got no chance of being nominated by the rat Republican Party. You know that.
Well, are you? By the way, Jim, on a more, are you following Alabama football this year?
Well, I couldn't help but see what happened the other night. Certainly.
Okay.
And that was enormous. What else can I say?
Yeah.
Enormous on the defensive side. They still, all you got to do is pass them. That's what I told you before. If they just pass, Marcus was dead on yesterday. All you got to do is pass on Alabama. If they just, I guarantee you, if they threw 3 passes per set of downs, they probably beat them. Whoever played them would probably, if they got a decent passer and a couple of, good split, good wideouts, they could probably beat them. I mean, I've never seen them more. Better than turn around and look at the ball. Cyrus Jones just runs down there and looks at the receiver, never turns to see where the ball. I mean, I played a little defensive back. You've got to turn and see where the ball is halfway through the pass route, and then go back to looking at the receiver. But at least you know where the ball is. He don't even look where the ball is, and that's why he gets beat so often. He just gets beat constantly. I can't believe Saban's allowed this to happen. But other than that defensive front seven, never seen one. I don't know if I've ever seen one better at Alabama. And you know what they had in '92, and my daddy said what they had in the '60s. So hey, but that other night was unstoppable.
I agree.
I mean,
it was. Can they keep it up? I think they can, but that's been the problem with Alabama the last 2 or 3 years is an inability to finish.
Well, yeah, and just losing focus for some reason. I don't know if they can keep their focus this week or not. Everybody's scared. I think you are too. I mean, as far as who knows? I mean, they're supposed to win and dominate. And by the way, Paul, what committee member gave you that call at 5:30 last week to tell you that the Alabama would be number 4, where you could make yourself look good?
I was on College Football Live earlier, and they were asking me for insight. I said, "Hey, I didn't get my call this week."
Well,
it was a good hunch. There was actually some scuttlebutt that Alabama was in the picture, so I acted on that. This week, I don't have as strong a feeling.
Well, I'll just tell you right now. I mean, I know they got one loss, but right now, I'm talking about right now, as of Saturday night, they're the best team in the nation. Even with the inadequacy still at the quarterback position, because he's 15-yard losses and getting sacked. The guy needs to learn how to get rid of the ball. He's still tentative.
I will say this, I think they're in better shape than they were a year ago, and I don't want to hear what everyone has to say about the statistics of Blake Sims. But I never thought he could get them over the hump. He came close, but he couldn't do it.
Well, Blake Sims couldn't throw a pass like this guy. You know that.
No, I think this guy has a lot more going for him.
Yeah, I agree. So what about tonight? I mean, give your assessment of what will happen tonight.
If I had to predict a winner tonight, I would predict it will be Rubio.
I can't stand that guy, Paul.
Well, I didn't say.
Really, I mean, I think the guy is just. I think he's just a liar. I think he's the tax stuff. I think it's all true. I think he's just. Somebody said he just got in politics to do what you do, get an easy ride.
Now, Jim, you're going to make me cry with shots like that.
Well, let's get Nate back on and let's get the show rolling. And you had it rolling yesterday, and you got so embarrassed that Nate KO'd you. You dumped her. You dumped her.
Jim, all is good now. You called us again, and I feel better. I'm energized. I'm ready to roll.
Well, you should feel energized because you know what energy I've got. I'm not low energy as Trump is not.
I'm Ben Carson, low energy. Jim, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
We had Jim, and now we have Charles. Yin and Yang.
Love this little community on the plains. Old straight jacket Jim called back in, didn't he, Paul?
He did.
He can't help it. You know what, though, Paul? I looked up there, heard his old voice. I get cold chill bumps on me every time I hear that old raspy, moranic voice he's got. But I didn't see no picture of him, Paul. Didn't see no picture. Just heard his old voice. Please put a picture of a straight jacket up there where everybody know who you talking to. Will you do that for me?
Okay. Okay.
All right. And Paul, I'm proud of you. You know, we go way back. I used to call in when you was in Birmingham and call you the godfather of sports talk radio. You remember that?
I do remember that. It was great. It was a great time in my life back when things
Now,
were
look
happy.
at you now. You on TV. You got the Paul Finebaum Show on the SEC Network.
Yes, sir.
Man, you've come a long way. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Well, I do want you to change the name of your show, though.
And that would be?
Paul Finebaum, Alabama, SEC Network Show. Call you are the Bam, you Bam.
You know, I missed guys like Charles and Jim. They made this show what it is, and you just heard it right there. Squirrel is up next. Hey, Squirrel.
How you doing, Paul? Did you
You
have
get
a good time in Oxford?
Yes, we had a great time.
Great. Hey, you know, your puppy wanders off every once in a while, but, you know, he always comes back. You know, that's a good thing. And I'm not going to say that I've missed Jim, but I enjoyed the fact that he called back today. And I kind of like his political take. You know, he's compared himself, you know, I don't want to get into all that, but, you know, he's compared himself to a lot of great people over the time, Ted Williams and people of that nature. But it finally dawned on me about halfway through his call who he reminds me of. And he's like a combination of Monica Crowley and Ann Coulter, I think. I mean, would you agree? I mean, he's like our little Republican Ann Coulter, I guess. So I really appreciate his political take. And I understand you're going to be in Starkville this weekend?
Yes, we're heading over there Friday.
Ironically, last week I was getting my oil changed, and I met one of your friends, and you're Mark Rick's mutual friend. You know who that would be?
I'm struggling to come up with the answer there.
Bo Bounds.
Oh, no doubt.
But yeah, it's the first time I met him. I listen to him all the time on the radio there in Jacksonville FM on ESPN FM. But first time I met him, seemed like a real great guy. And I'm going to start participating in the show a little bit in the future, I believe. But he said he's coming up to Starkville this weekend, and I think I'm going to go up that way and watch the game. If I do, I'm going to give you a shout. And,
Please do.
Good show. Good to hear Jim back again. Aloha.
Thank you very much. Good to have you on board.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a thrill.
Gary Danielson off to Starkville this weekend. The Alabama train continues for CBS, and it's been a pretty good one considering the LSU-Alabama game. Nearly 12 million people viewing the game, the biggest college football audience of the season. I know that doesn't make Gary nervous at all considering that many people watching. Gary, do you ever think about that when one of those primetime Alabama-LSU games that the numbers are enormous?
No, I figured 10 million are watching Vern and only 2 million are watching.
Well, let's go back for just a moment. Certainly, I don't know if you exactly predicted that on your blueprint before the game.
You know, one of the things that I have predicted about playing Alabama that you have to do is you better bring a quarterback. Okay, I mean, Stephen Garcia obviously wasn't an NFL quarterback, but that day he played his best game of his career when South Carolina upset Alabama. Remember when Alabama played that kickoff game, classic game against Michigan, and Michigan brought Denard Robinson in, and he could not get that offense going at all. They just did not believe Denard Robinson was going to throw the ball and hurt him, and how that Alabama team just slammed that Michigan team. But that's how I got the feeling in this game. You know, if you're not going to back up those linebackers and keep those edge rushers from zeroing in on the running back, you don't have a chance. And I understand, and it looked like LSU was going to get out of the half, and even with the field goal, they were lucky to be only down, 3 points. They had basically 2 good plays in the first half. It just, without the quarterback threatening Ragland and Foster and Dylan Lee and Denzel Duvall and keeping the safeties from slamming down. I know they weren't lining up in the box, but they were slamming down in that box pretty fast. You've got to keep this defense honest or you have no chance. And LSU just, whether they didn't want to believe in their quarterback or they were trying to shorten the game and get it to the second half, it was really tough on this team because they couldn't block them, and they couldn't throw it, and it was pretty ugly.
It really was. Clearly, Saturday in Starkville will be a different challenge. Dak Prescott, everyone knows about. Let's look ahead to that game.
Well, I was just rewatching the game from a year ago, and I wrote down from the open that this is the biggest game in Mississippi State history. And it was. Remember, they were the number one team in the country just a year ago coming into Tuscaloosa. And I thought that Dak would be ready for that game. But he came in limping a little bit in that game. He was turning the ball over, and he turned the ball over in that game. He got no help from a running back, Josh Robinson, and the score, again, was not as close as the game. The score was closer than the game appeared watching it or broadcasting it. In fact, Dan Mullen actually took the air out of it late, even though he was behind, to keep it as close as it was, in my opinion. But even though Mississippi State lost a lot of football players, they bring a lot of veteran players back to this team. Almost everybody that will line up against Alabama played in this football game. They only have one true freshman in their top two deep on both sides. It's kind of the mere opposite of Alabama. The program at Mississippi State, you have to bring your recruits in, you have to put them into the weight room, you have to redshirt them, and you have to bring them along when they're juniors and seniors. And even though some of these players haven't played a lot as starters, they were on the team, they have lettered, and they have participated in the SEC for a couple of years before they came into this football game. So you're going to see a lot of guys in this game that have played a lot of football, and now they get a big game at home with, I think, a quarterback that has to be ready. If Dak Prescott isn't ready for this one, the only thing he has to do is win one more game in his big career, this coming up, and he will be basically remembered as one of the great quarterbacks the SEC has produced, I believe.
Gary Danielson talking about Alabama's challenges. Gary, just following Alabama along all year, and you've seen them so many times already, do they play differently, or what was so outstanding about Saturday night? It seemed like it was a cut above everything else we've seen.
And I think you're right, Paul. One of the things that we always do with the great teams is we don't give them credit for improving as the year goes along. We always see the teams at the middle or the bottom of the standing and say, wow, this is an improved football team. From game 1 until game 8, they've really come on. At the beginning of the year, they didn't have. Well, I'll tell you right now, this is an improving Alabama football team. Look what's happened to them since the beginning of the year. Calvin Ridley has become a legitimate SEC threat. Ardarius Stewart has become a legitimate threat. Through the first 4 games, number one receiver was Richard Mullaney, the slot receiver. He's now become the third receiver. Kenyon Drake, it looks like, has finally found his groove back to the way he was before he got injured. Now, if you give an Alabama team a 1-2 punch, and as diverse as these two guys are, that has improved. I thought the picture of the night for Alabama and why a lot of these teams want to go no huddle and keep them off balance was the one, I don't know if you saw this, was the one where LSU it was either a TV timeout or some kind of a timeout, and LSU was huddling like they do with 20 or 30 players on the side, and Alabama didn't know who was going to come on the field. And we were up in the booth, we're saying, look at this, and we took a shot of 19 Alabama players on the field ready to react for whatever LSU was going to bring out on the field. Was it going to be 3 wide receivers? Was it going to be 2 tight ends? Was it going to be a fullback and a tailback? But as LSU trotted on the field, 8 Alabama players trotted off the field, And that's the group that was out there to stop them. That's what you face when you face Alabama. You face not 11 good players. You face 8 deep in the defensive line. You face 6 defensive backs that all can cover you. About 4 or 5. One of the stars of the game, the linebacker Dylan Lee, as Kirby Smart likes to say, when we're playing these spread teams, I don't like to get in his vision because he's mad at me because he's not going to play a lot. He was one of the stars of the game. He can't even get on the field some games. This is how deep this team is. But you have to have the right makeup to keep them off balance. And in theory, with a veteran quarterback and a lot of receivers and one big receiver in De'Runnya Wilson, they have the formula that can stress Alabama. Now, can they do it up front? We'll see. Probably not unless they keep them off balance. Can they throttle the running game as much as Mississippi State did a year ago? They did a decent job against them a year ago. The question is, Lane Kiffin is going to figure out that they've got injuries at the corners, and as much tape that they've watched Derrick Henry running the ball, he's going to start dialing up those play-action passes again. It's not going to be easy, but I'll tell you don't have a chance without a quarterback, and at least Mississippi State brings a quarterback to the game.
Finally, Gary, just want to get your thoughts on Derrick Henry. We made such a big deal about the showdown with Fournette.
Right.
Henry was a major star. Your thoughts on him moving forward?
Well, I got to give Lane and Nick and the whole group over there a lot of credit, and also got to give Derrick. He's much like Amari Cooper. He fits into the offense, and he's not selfish. You have to imagine over the last couple of years, Derrick Henry has been knowing that at the back of his mind, he could carry the ball between 25 and 30 times and be a star. But if you watch, all through spring football, all through off season, one of the guys that Nick Saban constantly talked about as one of the hardest workers he had on the football team was Derrick Henry. Up until this game, Derrick Henry was on the punt coverage team. This game they took him off to keep him a little bit safe and rested, probably because they knew we were going to run him a lot. He's just like Cooper, just like Julio Jones. He knows he's a star, but he fits into the system, and he waits his time and turn. And boy, when he turns upfield, for the size he is, and the way he turns upfield, the way he runs, I'm sure that the pro scouts will be salivating for what he can do at the next level.
Gary Danielson, Saturday in Starkville as he continues covering Alabama. He'll see them plenty the rest of the way.
As we say, the Crimson Broadcasting System.
No doubt. Gary, many thanks. We'll talk next week.
Got it. Thank you.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Put a little cherry on the top.
Jerome is next up in Birmingham. Hey, Jerome.
What's going on, Mr. Feinbaum?
Doing great, Jerome.
Hey, listen. Louisville must have just didn't have nothing else to talk about this. He's going to try to tell us, now, explain to me how Clemson is a complete football team, and they all this and they all that, and Alabama is winning in spite of our quarterback. Explain that to me, Feinbaum.
I'll let Tom explain it. I'll be happy to give you his number.
I don't need Tom's number because I just think it's irrelevant. He just needs something to talk about. Alabama win because we whooping ass. And then let me ask you a question. Who
go ahead and ask me a question.
Beat us?
What was that?
Yeah, who gonna beat us, Feinbaum? You said we're gonna lose one more football.
No, I did not. First of all, I did not say that at all.
You didn't say that earlier in the show that Alabama going to lose one more football.
No, if you can produce the tape, I'll be happy to respond, but I doubt seriously you can find a tape of me saying that.
Well, at least I ain't got to go on my rant then, because you know and I know that we're not going to lose no more football games, especially with that Florida fan calling in talking about what they going to do in Florida. Hey, listen to me. Unless Tebow going to suit up for them that night, Finebaum, they don't stand a chance, and you know that and I know that. I don't understand why people don't understand. We run the SEC now. We've been running the SEC since little Nicky landed down there in Tuscaloosa, Finebaum. We done had one or two little hiccups and give y'all something to talk about for the years we hadn't won the championship or one. But other than that, we have owned this thing, Finebaum. So I just don't get it. Nothing we do, y'all still want to get on to my Alabama this. But I tell you what, Alabama going to shut Mississippi State down Saturday. We're going to shut Auburn down. You want to talk about they coming back? Coming back from where, Finebaum? Jeremy Johnson ain't doing nothing. They want to talk about it done click.
Hey, Jerome, let me ask you a question. I mean, for the university that owns the SEC, why are you hating so much? Why can't you enjoy the moment?
No, it ain't me hating. It ain't me hating. It's you and the rest of these dogs.
No, I don't think anyone's hating you, Jerome. You're the only one angry, man.
I'm not angry. I'm just a proud, happy fan. That
you're happy? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'd hate to be depressed if you're happy.
Well, it's fine, but I'm just as happy as you is, Messi. So what's the difference? Huh? We on the same page, Paul. So roll tide and have a good damn day.
What is the deal with Jerome?
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
We love Stingray on this program, but he apparently upset the former WWE wrestler, the Road Warrior. Watch this.
Hey, to the Mississippi State guy that's ranting and raving about Mizzou with the WWE Championship belt in the background. Well, take it from me, someone that has owned about 10 of those belts, you ain't no champion, and Mississippi State's going to be lucky to be 10-2. They'll be lucky. They won't even make the Final Four in the playoffs, so quit your whining and quit your complaining. Mizzou's got a better chance, even though they haven't scored a touchdown in a month. And when Mississippi State grows up, bro, then maybe they'll be in the same class as OHIO. That's right, Ohio State, where my son James went. So, you with the fake replica belt, don't be crying and whining about Mizzou. Mississippi State would be lucky if they could beat Mizzou. Oh, what a rush.
What a loser. Stingray has a retort on camera, so take it away, Stingray.
Road Warrior Animal. You called me out a few days ago and said, I'm no champion. Well, let me tell you something, dude. I am not trying to be a champion. I am trying to be a winner, which Mississippi State was last night over your Missouri Tigers. Oh, and let's take a step back for just a second. I didn't even realize you were still around, dude, as seeing as how you haven't been irrelevant in the last 15 to 20 years. Now, let me give you a little example of what OHIO, the Ohio State University, is. They are a complete joke. All right? The Big Ten is a weak conference. Look at Iowa being undefeated in that conference. That tells you right there they are weak. Now, put Ohio State in the SEC, then we will talk. Now, I have one more statement to make to you, Road Warrior Animal. How you like them dogs now? Ooh, how we stopped that rush last night. Hell State!
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Joey's on a troublesome cell, so we won't keep him long. He has a show to get ready for. Joey, thanks as always for the time. You and Cannell aren't out shopping right now for the big program tonight?
No, we are in studio, locked and loaded, ready to go. But believe me, that show is less as important as talking to you on the phone. So that's why I'm out here.
Thank you, Joey. We deeply appreciate it. And I know every fan in the SEC appreciates it because you've been so kind. So first of all, your top four.
My top four are Ohio State at number 1, Clemson number 2, Alabama number 3, and Baylor at number 4.
Ooh, some love for Baylor.
Yeah, I'm still okay with Baylor. Now I have concerns, but right now I'm okay with Baylor being there because they have games coming up. They have to play Oklahoma this weekend. They still have Oklahoma State. They still have TCU. So we'll find out what Baylor is.
Yeah, I was on earlier today with Danny, and he had Alabama 4. He just he's not quite buying the love. You know, he's penalizing them for losing a game. What about you?
I have Alabama 3 because I believe I believe Clemson and Ohio State would beat Alabama head-to-head right now. They look very good. The loss is still on their record. I think that matters at this time before everybody finishes off their resumes. The loss don't matter to me. But basically, when I rank my teams, I look at if these teams were to play each other, I would pick Clemson. I'd pick Ohio State to beat Alabama, and that's why they're number 3 for me.
Not to sound like a prosecuting attorney, but just in case any Alabama fans didn't hear you clearly, Joey, you're saying Clemson would beat Alabama and Ohio State would beat Alabama.
And the same exact team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, with the same exact players, would beat Alabama again. Yes, you heard me clearly. Okay. And I know you got your fans out there. They're probably lighting up the Twitter as we speak. But yes, that is
Joey,
what I'm saying.
Before we tweet that out and have 1 million people respond to you, we just want to make sure we have it right. You know us. We're journalists here.
Hey, I appreciate that. Now, it doesn't matter what you actually say or what I actually say. They're going to twist it the way they want to twist it anyhow and then tweet it back at me, which is fine. But we got a lot of football left to be played. We're still in that situation where if these teams went out, we might just see the rematch of Ohio State-Alabama.
I just had a tweet from an Alabama fan who said, Joey, hang up on that clown.
Was she telling me to hang up on you? Or?
No, I think she was telling me to hang up on you. She's now.
You never really know what they mean, Paul. You never know which person they're calling a clown in these situations.
No, well, when it comes to me, it's usually it's debatable. Well, anyway, I know you have a show to do. We won't keep you because there's so much to prepare for when you're going to be seen by millions of people.
I appreciate that. I got to go in here and calm Danny down. He had to put Spam in the top 4, and it was tough. So I got to go in here and see how he's doing.
Thank you, Joey. We'll see you later.
All right, Paul.
You got it. Joey Galloway, I believe Clemson would beat Alabama head-to-head right now, and I believe Ohio State would beat Alabama. So Joey definitely lighting up the Tide Nation. Joey Galloway definitely getting some people stirred up tonight. Jim is up next. Jim?
You know, Paul, that's, I'm not going to waste time tweeting about a moron like that. I mean, really, that guy's a complete buffoon moron. I sincerely mean that. I don't care how much he played a little football, so did I. That guy knows nothing, but he's only a biased, bogus, the Ohio State former player. Didn't play that well, in my opinion. Damn sure doesn't know anything about football in regard to Alabama losing to Clemson or Ohio State. I think you would agree right now, as of Saturday night, that Alabama would stomp Clemson and not easily, but would stop and beat Ohio State.
Well, I saw something the other day. Right now in Vegas, I think before the season, Ohio State was a 7 to 10 point favorite over Alabama. Right now, that game would be even. Alabama would be favored over Clemson.
I bet Danny Sheridan would put it in favor of Alabama. I wish you'd call.
Well, Alabama would definitely be favored over Clemson, and I think we haven't seen Ohio State play Michigan State and Michigan, so I think there's a reasonable chance that the way Ohio State has played, it would be at worst to pick them. But again, he went to Ohio State. He's entitled to his opinion. I happen to think Joey is.
That's not his opinion. That's just he's like a hired hack, Paul. You know that. Damn guy is it's nothing but a bogus phony. Only choosing Ohio State because that's his people. They pay him to do what he does. And that's what's wrong. I want to say one more thing. That's the only thing I really have against your show lately is guest hacks like that fool.
Well, let me ask you, Jim, what type of guest would you like to see and hear on this show?
Well, I mean, I would like somebody, somebody that's at least objective, not biased. I'm not biased. I'm telling you, have you heard me say that? But I know for a fact, as of now, Alabama would stomp anybody in the nation right now. I really believe that. And I'm not. And I told you, who has been more critical than I have?
You have.
You know me, Paul.
You've been tough. I buy that.
I mean, you and I both ran off about 4 Alabama coaches.
We have.
So,
actually, I think more than that.
Well, we ran off. We know we ran off Mike Shula. We know we ran off Mark Gottfried. And I can continue. I like Dubose, but we kind of ran him off too, I guess.
Yeah, we ran him off.
But seriously, I mean, that moron, he just makes you look bad, and he can't make himself look any worse. How he's gotten hired by ESPN.
Well, you know who the top guy at ESPN college football is, don't you?
No, who?
Lee Fitting.
Well, Lee and I are going to get you. He's already got me lined up. I'm not. We can't reveal that.
Did you hear him Friday when he said he was pretty? He had tried to get you to be the guest picker in Tuscaloosa, but.
Well, it's going to be a golden day when nobody will be expecting it. That's the way it wants to work. But it won't be some gooberhead moron like Joey Galloway. I mean, that guy. He's ludicrous. That's all you can say. The guy's ludicrous. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Jim. Great call.
Thank you for listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast. The Paul Finebaum Show airs weekdays on the SEC Network, beginning at 3 Eastern.
We're going to have to change the way we think about our finances.
The Regions Next Step project is helping real customers like Patrick and his wife Stacy confidently take their next step in life.
We definitely need to come together as a team.
My Green Insights is helping the couple get on the same page financially.
The budget calculator I really liked.
Watch real Next Step stories and plan your own at regions.com/Patrick.
We're finally working together to take our next step.
Regions, official bank of the SEC, member FDIC, paid appearance by an actual Regions customer telling his real story.
It's a football Sunday doubleheader. First in Green Bay, the Packers face the Lions.
Got it! Touchdown!
Then at MetLife Stadium, the Giants host the undefeated Patriots. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio.